Shane Hewitt and the Night Shift podcast.
All righty, here we go. Time to dig into the tech. Chris Abel is here. Real Chris Abel, Krisabel. He is so smart. He even spells his name differently. Digging into the tech. Now, Chris, I'm trying to do that. I was going to do the thing with the glasses, you know, when like people do they look at you and they look over the glasses and then they look, the progressives, they're looking down so they can see you looking up, looking down. Anyway, it fails us on the radio, but in our video call, it makes sense. You see those folks, they're struggling to see what's going on. They've got progressives or whatever, and some tech might help.
Yes. So what's coming up is that you've got a company in Netherlands called IXI, IXI, and they are planning to release auto-focusing eyeglasses. So these are eyeglasses. They look like normal glasses, but built into the frames is eye tracking technology. So the little cameras that are built into the frames are watching your eyes, and they can tell when you're having difficulty seeing. For people who have bifocals or trifocals, obviously there are times in which you're having difficulty seeing far away, and then there are times when you're seeing up close. So these glasses, they can tell the difference between the changes in your eyes when you're having those eye strain and difficulty. Then what it does is it activates liquid crystals built into the lenses themselves, so that the lenses now adjust the focus to match to your eye strain. So you can now focus and see what you're doing. Much more advanced. In fact, it's far better than bifocals, where you have to learn to look down or look up in order to activate the different two modes of seeing. No, this one's going to auto adjust based on where you're looking and what you're looking for. We don't know when it's going to come out, sometime this fall, and definitely they're going to be high tech, very, very, very smart. They sound very cool to me.
This will be interesting to follow, Chris, because if the glasses can tell what you need and they auto adjust for you, that's one thing. The optometrist obviously checks the health of your eyes. So the glasses is not the only thing they do, but so the optometrists aren't in trouble. There is a very large company that has a borderline monopoly on all things glasses in the world. It'll be interesting to see how much they want to dance with this technology.
Yes. Well, two other considerations about it. One is that obviously these are battery-powered glasses, so you'll have to get into the habit of charging them every night when you come home. You can, hopefully they'll have an all-day battery life, but you have to charge them every night to use them the next day. And the second consideration that I think is really interesting, they're saying, is that although this is specifically sort of geared towards people who use bifocals and trifocals, they say they do know that everyone suffers from age-related myopia. As you get older, everybody's going to need to get a pair of reading glasses at some point. These glasses not only will work as reading glasses, but they say that it will actually slow the progression of age-related myopia over time. And the next generation of glasses that they're working on, they promise, will actually be able to reverse the effects of myopia. So that to me is very exciting, and that might be powerful enough to be able to have IXI stay in control in terms of which direction their product goes in.
Yeah. Well, especially if it adjusts over time, and then you don't need to replace them as often. Although I'm sure they'll be more expensive, and then, sitting on them on the couch, not good either. All right. So all the tech things here. Chris Abel is with us. We're going Disney.
Yeah, I know you and I have spoken about this before, because there was sort of hints and teases, but Walt Disney, their Disney parks in California, tomorrow, Disneyland is going to debut a brand new animatronic version of Walt Disney himself, the founder. And so this is going to be, they've been promising their most lifelike figure yet that they've created. This will be a 17-minute presentation. Visitors to the parks will be able to come in. There will be a short video about Walt's life, and then an animatronic version of himself will appear on stage, and he's going to give a little presentation about his life, his career, as it were. And again, this is kind of robotics, but also uses the earlier technology of auto animatronic, which is what they've used for the robot versions of Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as the Abraham Lincoln. What's neat is that they say this is their most lifelike figure so far, is because it's got very realistic skin, very realistic mannerisms. It has the ability not just to stand upright, but actually to be able to pivot and adjust on its hips. He can do these kind of casual poses. And of course, they say that he's going to have that Walt Disney twinkle in the eye. They've released video of it, and what I've looked at it so far is kind of, I have to say, I've got a bit of a weird take on it because it's not the Walt I'm familiar with. So the Walt I've seen in his introductions of the movies and all the documentaries he's done is always a very thin man. And yet this animatronic Walt Disney is a very thick, stockier man. And I don't know if that's because they're trying to hide the fact that it's a kind of a robot and they couldn't make it as thin as it possible. But they've also explained that this is meant to be Walt Disney in 1963 at the later sort of end of his career. So he, you hear that in terms of the presentation, but I think that may be the case that, as we get older in our lives, we tend to get a little stockier and a little heavier. I know we have some of the audio, which again is taken from recordings of him during his life when he was alive, and we can play a little bit to give you a sense of what this is going to be like.
I was stumped one day when the little boy asked, "Do you draw Mickey Mouse?" And I had to admit I do not draw anymore. Well, then you think up all the jokes and ideas. No, I said, I don't do that. Finally, he looked at me and said, "Mr. Disney, just what do you do?" Well, I said, sometimes I think of myself as a little bee. I go from one area of the studio to another and gather pollen and sort of stimulate everybody. I guess that's the job I do.
That's fun. I like that. Although he's getting older, he should get the ICSI glasses. Chubby Walt.
Yeah.
I like that. It's kind of neat to hear it come to life like that, hey? Like the story of Walt Disney, where it all started and the work behind it, the belief, the trust, the faith of throwing it out there, creating it. I think it's cool stuff.
It's important that we don't forget the past and we don't forget where a lot of the things that we love today, where they originated and where they come from. So yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't Mickey Mouse, turns out. Okay, there is a giant picture here that Tony put in my page to get my attention. As Tony went to the dentist today, so he might need to plug his ears for this one. Shark Dentist is on the list.
Yes. So this is a small indie game that's coming out later this year from a small company called Alice Games. But I love the concept of it. So this is going to be available just for PCs. And it's called Shark Dentist, in which you are a dentist and you have to work on sharks. Big, massive, horrifying sharks, large mouths, many, 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 many teeth. They don't fully explain why you have to work on these sharks for their oral health, but this is the concept. You've got this big, massive shark on a table. It's maw wide open. You have to lean in as a dentist and perform dental oral health on it. You've got drills, you've got hypodermic needles, you've got syringes. And what you have to do is you have to kind of balance two things. One, the shark is obviously anesthetized. It's asleep. You have to maintain that. You have to watch its pulse. And then while it's in that safe zone, you have to then perform extractions. You have to drill cavities. You're using a circular saw at some point because the teeth are so large. And you have to maintain the balance of keeping the shark asleep while you work on it, because if you make a mistake and you cause it a pain that causes it to awake, then the shark is likely to bite your head off. And that's the idea is you've got this intense pressure. It's very scary. The shark is very horrifying in terms of its internals, all those horrible teeth around you. Can you do it? Can you bring the shark and complete the dental work without losing your head, as it were?
That is fun. It sounds just like the game Operation. Equally stressful.
It does.
Without the buzzer.
It's kind of that ridiculous kind of game. This is going to be a small game when it comes out. It's not going to be a long game. It's not something you're going to play for 40 or 60 hours, probably only 9 hours. They say it's not just the one big massive shark that's in that photo, but there will be other ocean predators that they're going to introduce over time. So you can think of goblin-nosed sharks. You can think of orcas. You can think of all sorts of other creatures under the water that have lots and lots of teeth.
Real Chris Abel on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and so much more. Shark Dentist is the last story. We really missed an opportunity to play Baby Shark and make people mad. Thanks for being here, brother. Great to see you.
All right. Take care.
We'll catch you next week.